The Angry Soccer Guy is back, and in this video we're going to be discussing the Future Pro Player Framework. And these are 16 targets that a player is going to show mom or dad if they truly want to be serious with the game. Now, I will preemphasize this by saying this really starts, in my opinion, by 12 years old and older, and you'll start seeing if they really have that initiative, that drive, that hunger, that desire to show if they really mean business. Because, to be honest, anything before 12, the kids should be having fun. They should be getting touches on the ball, playing multiple positions, experiencing the game in different avenues to really see if they want to take it to that next step. And that's where you'll see about 12, 13 years old if they're really interested in taking the game to another level above that. That's what this framework is about, because a lot of parents have asked me, like, how do I know if my son is really ready for this? Or how does he show me? Well, this right here is what's going to show you if your child really wants to go to another level. Okay, and the question really becomes, are you, the player, willing to commit to the following every single day? And the key thing with this is consistency and repetition and just doing it over and over, what I like to call the compounding effect of just doing it so many times. And I'll explain why shortly. But it looks like this. So I don't know how you'll be able to see it, but it's all here on the board. So it's, again, the Future Pro Player Framework. Does your youth player truly want it? And I'll say it one more time. This is, U12 and older. Now you have things like late developers, early developers. So this is, just a guideline, not an end-all be-all, but about 12 years old where you'll start seeing this. So they have to start showing you these types of things. There's 16 of them. First one, getting up 30 minutes earlier every day. So let's say the alarm that gets off at 7, they're getting up at 6:30, and I'll explain why. That way they can get up, go for a walk, warm the body up, maybe take a shower, whatever it is, and then stretch. Use that as a time to recover the body and get prepared for the day. 100 push-ups and 100 squats, and I put asterisks around this, but basically, again, this is for U12 and older, but 100 push-ups, 100 squats. Very, very important though that they have correct form. So it doesn't make any sense for them to do 100 push-ups or 100 squats or whatever leg activity if they don't do it correctly. So we need to make sure that they are getting correct form. So make sure that the technique is correct before applying the skill. And the reason for is you don't want to injure yourself because, like, if you do a squat incorrectly, not right away, but over time, it will lead to various injuries. Okay, so just know that. They need to make sure that they're getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep every single day. That's serious. So if they're staying up until 1 o'clock in the morning playing freaking GTA or whatever game, that's not serious, right? So they're not showing you that they're, putting their phone down or their electronics down at, say, 9 o'clock. They're getting ready to go to sleep at 10 o'clock. This is what we're looking for here. Next one. Training every single day. Now, sometimes people get confused when I say training. Training doesn't always have to be on a field. You could be watching game film. You could be watching professional matches. You could go outside for 10 to 15 minutes and practice juggling. It doesn't have to be you're on a field for an hour and a half, 2 hours, or whatever the duration is, and you're out there burning the entire time. It's not even about that. Okay, so you can train multiple different ways. It could also be improving your nutrition. And especially in today's day and age, there's a lot of interviews going on, so at some point the player's going to have to learn how to actually engage in conversation. A reporter asks a question, how do you respond back? Those are all details that are very important. And if you look at somebody like Jude Bellingham, he's done a phenomenal job in the interview process. So being able to figure out how to do that, that's all, in my opinion, a part of training to become a future high-level athlete. Okay, next one, which I've already highlighted on, which was 5. This is now 6. Watch pro or high-level games. And a number of times I've seen kids say, I want to be a professional. And then you ask them, well, how many games you watched last week? And they go 0 or 1. Could you be a professional not watching matches? Yes. However, the more that you watch, the more that you can learn, especially if you're not just following the ball. So you see the ball, don't just follow it. So you need to make sure that they are watching the game, players in their position, or just in general, the best players. Watch what they do and learn from them. Very, very important. I've already highlighted this, but this is 7, stretching every single day. And a lot of people, and I don't have every single answer, I never will, but what I will say is, from my experience of using stretching, I have an entire stretching framework you can actually get for free. But I think stretching is critically important. You look at the top level athletes, they talk about how great it is. You need to make sure that they add stretching to their daily routine. There's a time and a place. So from my experience, I suffered from tremendously terrible patella tendonitis. So I still do actually have a lump right below my kneecap. That got very, very big to the point where I wouldn't be able to run, sleep on my stomach, and do things like that in college. And it all stemmed from, long story short, the wrong button again. It all stemmed from my hip muscles, or hips, sorry, not muscles, but hips being out of alignment. So what happened was it would pull my quad wrong, pull the kneecap wrong, and then put pressure on that patella tendon. And that's a huge problem. So stretching can help avoid those issues. Again, making sure they know how to stretch correctly is important. I would advise, this is what I did, when you're going to go stretch, make sure the body is warm. So don't, be sleeping, wake up, go stretch. Warm up the body. It doesn't mean you have to go for a run, but go for a walk, take a shower, whatever, warm shower, to warm the body up, the temperature, and then start stretching. The other key thing I would add is I think it's also very good to stretch post-training. So part of our cool-down process we have, that again, you can get for free, I have stretching. So routine to stretch post-training to help the body recover. And then the other thing would be, if you're going to stretch before training, make sure you do it hours before. Because what I would find is, I did this a lot in college, I would stretch each part of my body that I was stretching for a minute or a minute and 30 seconds. I felt fantastic, unbelievably. But I noticed a decrease in power, and I kept wondering, why do I feel so good, but the power is going down? And when I spoke to one of my trainers, they were like, look, what's happened is when you stretch, you're going to feel better. However, you're decreasing muscle power because you're stretching those muscle fibers. I'm like, so the muscle fibers need time to stretch while you're stretching to then retighten. And that's what we're looking to do here. So you need to have, I would recommend at least a bare minimum 2 hours between the stretch to the activity. So game, training, whatever it is. I would prefer longer, but just use 2 as the framework. Next one, proper warm-up before practice. The number of times I see older players show up to training, let's say training starts at 7 o'clock, they show up at 7 and they don't even do a warm-up, they just jump right in. Dude, at 15 years and older, 14 years and older, let's just start with 15, they need to be coming in and getting a warm-up in. If they're not warming themselves up, jog, stretches, and by stretches I mean dynamic stretches, you're not just standing there stretching, right? But you're moving, you're getting the body warm and limber to get ready for the activity. Very important to do that. Number 9, proper cool down, and again, stretch post-training. So again, a lot of times training will finish, kids just walk off the field, get in the car, go home. There's much better ways you can do that. You need to be taking care of your body. Your body needs to be cooled down. So what we used to do was you would jog, and I mean a very slow jog for 6 minutes. Like you're jogging like this. Right? It's not even a jog, but that's the jog that they're going to be going into. So proper cool down, proper stretch. Again, cool down, then stretch. Part of the recovery process. Especially at 12, I would say getting 15 minutes of touches every single morning. Part of the reason why 30 minutes earlier. And it doesn't have to be complex. It could be just get a ball, dribble around the house. Cool. Or it could be go outside for tennis, practice juggling. Cool. Play against your brother or sister 1v1 before you shower. Cool. Whatever it is for you, go get touches on in the morning. Go practice. Practice your 1v1. Practice your body fake. Practice your skill. Practice your touch. Whatever. But if you get up 30 minutes earlier, you can do that. So if you know you got to be up at 7, go to sleep at 10 o'clock, right? And then you have time to do that. Next one, eating 3 healthy meals a day. And this one absolutely drives me nuts because I see kids doing like double sessions or triple sessions, which triple's obviously too much, but they're not taking care of their body the way they need to. So they're eating fast food. They're eating junk food. Like there are times I see kids eating like a Doritos or what's the other food people love? Takis. Dude, those are so bad for you. And what's interesting, especially with kids, is they don't realize the impact that has on them later in life, and probably a lot of adults too. But that stuff will mess your body up. So if you want to be a high-level athlete and you have the resources, the key thing, resources, then take the time, especially if you want to help invest in your child's future, to get them to improve. So don't just feed them junk food or fast food or soda. Help them learn. And you can frame it this way. What is your goal? Oh, I want to be a professional. Okay, great. Do you see what the type of food Ronaldo eats? You can go Google Ronaldo's meals, right? You'll see what Ronaldo eats. It's mind-blowing the stuff that he puts. Like you might have seen the interview or the press conference he went to, and he pushed the Coca-Cola out of his way. He's like, give me water. So those are just little things that I think people don't think about that are so important when you're going to a higher level. 3 healthy meals. Now, this is not mine. I'm going to share what a friend of mine who works with professional athletes does. And she said, 2 carbs, protein, a serving of protein, and a serving of vegetables every meal. Boom. Or some combination of that. And that way, and as long as it's healthy, you're hitting what you need. Okay, next one. I've already kind of highlighted it. No soda, no slushy. And I was talking to a guy, professional player, played for Orlando City. I've trained him multiple times. I'm like, hey, what does your weekly meal thing look like? What do you eat? 6 days a week, healthy. He's like, clean as hell, healthy meals. the 1 day a week cheat meal where he'll eat a little bit more junk. And so he made a joke. He was like, you guys don't know how I had dessert last night? He's like, I had a brownie this big. Like, he was like, it was this big. And I'm like, dude, kids don't, and parents don't understand like the sacrifice, especially from a dietary, nutritional standpoint that you have to make to get to that level. And it's like, he's showing us a brownie this big. He's like, this is what I had. We're like, man, it's hard. And it is hard. You know, we have the freedom to eat whatever we want, whenever we want. And I know from experience. Okay, next one, 13, core work. So I think this is also undervalued. The core, the stomach, right? It needs to be strong. You need to be powerful. You need to be cut. And if you don't have a good core, you won't play at a high level. Just, I can tell you that now. I don't care how skillful you are. If you can't use your core well, it's just going to cause you problems in the long run. Okay, next one. Juggling. And a lot of people will make jokes about this or whatnot. I believe that juggling is one of the best tools you can use to develop kids. And in fact, it'll be one of the first things, like if somebody says, Kyle, can you evaluate my kid? Especially in this country, the first thing I'm going to give them is a ball and ask them to juggle. If they can't juggle well, that tells me they have not spent enough time with the ball. And I'm not talking about, with the toes where they juggle with the toes. I'm talking the shoelaces, and they're being able to juggle with good contact right off, we call it the instep, right off the instep. If they cannot do that at a decently high level, then to me, your child is not high level at that point. And I don't care if they're 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever the age range is. But like a lot of times, it's crazy that parents at 7, 8, 9, 10 think their kids are really good. So then they're going and saying, well, I have a high level 9-year-old. What does that mean? And it's just like, it doesn't matter if you have a high level 9-year-old. Like the number of guys that I knew that were really good young, 9, 10, 11, when I was a kid, they were not top when they got to older ages. And I think what happens with this is there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of pressure. Mom and dad bring pressure. Coaches bring pressure. So the kid, the player, stops enjoying the game the same amount because they have all this added pressure from the outside environment. Which, could it help? Sure, if you have the background and heritage. But like you think about like what Christian Pulisic's dad said. He's like, I was an ice cream parent. I wanted my son to have a good time. He recognized that the key thing at first was for his son to fall in love with the game. And then we start building those building blocks. It's like steps, right? Take the first step, second step, third step, fourth step. It's the same principle here when it comes to this. And that's how I use juggling. I do it for a whole bunch of touch work, but if for me you can't juggle well, I don't believe that you're going to get to a high level. Are there exceptions to the rule? Yes. Of course. There's exceptions to every single rule. However, for the general 99% of people, juggling's important. Regardless of what anybody says. I've already said this. You can get 2,500 touches on the ball before school, so it actually goes hand in hand with 10 and 15. They go hand in hand. So again, you can go outside, spend 15 minutes. And the reason why I put this here specifically is because I have a program that's free. It's called the 2,500 Touch Challenge. It takes 15 minutes. You can do it before school. Watch it on your computer, watch it on your iPad, your phone, replicate, repeat. And I've gotten a lot of good feedback on it. I think it's great. I think it's a great tool. I think you need 2 cones, maybe 3 cones. And you just need to get repetition, touch, consistency, and you build it over time. And then the last one, 16, this is very important for me because a lot of times parents say, well, Kyle, what do you think of my son or my daughter? Well, the first question I always ask outside of like, what is their skill level, what age, what level do they play at? Be like, can they play 2 years up? And they go, well, they only play their age group. That's great. I love that your kid plays his age group. That's awesome. Can he or she play 2 years up? And when I say play 2 years up, can they actually compete and perform 2 years up? Not just be in the game, making a pass every once in a while. I mean, actually impacting the game 2 years up. And I think this part here gets undervalued a lot because everybody's like, well, I want my son to play MLS Next or ECNL or GA. Again, it could be boy or girl. NAL, whatever league, whatever division there is, because there's just so many of them at this point, it's gone nuts, that it doesn't really matter. So don't lose sight of that if your kid is actually really good and on the pathway to become a pro, especially in this country, in my opinion, they need to be able to play at least 2 years up. And not just be in the game or be on the bench, actually impact the game and make a difference. Okay, so just make sure that's clear. And I went over this. So this is your framework, and this is where you're going to see, does your youth player truly want it? Now, I will add, do not expect your 12-year-old to be able to do all of this right away. Do not do that. That would be a big mistake. But what you can do, have targets, right? So, for example, we have 16 of them. You can break them in groups of 4. So 1 through 4, we want to have done in the first month. Okay, by month 3, we want to have 5, 6, 7, 8, boom, grouped, okay? Then by month 5 or 6, we take the next 4, which would be 9, 10, 11, 12. And then the last 4, 13, 14, 15, 16. Can we add that at the end? And you can frame it however you want to do it. Just the point is, don't expect it to happen overnight. One of the tricks you can do, however, or at least ask your child to do, is they can print this, and it can be like a vision board. 12 and older. They slap it up on their wall. So the first thing they do when they wake up, pop up, they see that. And when they see that, they might go, oh man, I got to remember, I have to do these 16 things. And it's, especially for a kid, the first time they see it, they're going to be like, that's a lot. It is a lot, but there's a reason behind it. Because, again, getting to a higher level requires steps. Are you willing to play the game to get those steps in? Choice is yours. That's why I keep calling it the compounding effect. It's either going to compound in your favor or compound against your favor. So if you just wake up every single morning, you don't do any of this, and you expect to go be a professional, at some point, and it might be the end of your youth career, you're going to find out that it's not going to continue because you don't go to college, you don't go professional. Whereas vice versa, you add these things to the resume or to the daily routine. I can't promise you that you'll make it, but what I can promise you is you'll get compounded closer. And how this works is really simple. All right, so I got to a certain level. I did not play Premier League. I did not play MLS. I didn't play any of the leagues. Didn't do any of it. I did play college. I did play semi-professionally in France, Division 4. And then I played on the United States men's national futsal team through AMF and played in the 2019 World Cup in Misiones, Argentina. So I was able to get to a certain level by the compounding. I did so many things over time that it got me to a certain level. Now, there's people that fade out, of course, but there's a lot of other components that go into it. I just look at it as a fact of I got to a certain point from compounding, doing it so much to a certain point that if I probably done more, I could have got further. But I will add, and this is stuff that I don't think is talked about a lot, is just the importance of heritage, and heritage being what is in your background. Now, this is not the end-all be-all, but like from my research, I don't have all the evidence finalized yet, but let's say 80% of the professional players have history in the game from previous generations. Mom, dad played, or grandpa played, whatever. They have some sort of background that leads them to have success in that field. And I always talk about, like, my parents never played. They did not have that experience. So me and my brother had to figure this shit out on the fly. Now, are there exceptions to every rule? Yes, there's about 20% of players that don't have that heritage to the same degree. So what I will add, though, is you get a significant head start if your parents played at a higher level. So again, using Christian Pulisic, his dad had tremendous background in the sport. Gio Reyna's parents, tremendous background in the sport. This new kid coming from Philadelphia Union going to Man City, Sullivan, I think his last name is, he has tremendous heritage. Dad was a professional player. Mom was a Division I athlete. Brothers, 2 older brothers, both play at Philadelphia Union. He's the 3rd child. Does that mean he was guaranteed to get to that level? No, but the chance of success was slightly higher because of the heritage that was formed. Okay, so just make sure that makes sense. Now, just understand, to recap quickly, the entire purpose of this framework is for players to showcase that they have the work ethic and desire to want to become a professional. Actions speak louder than words, so it doesn't matter what you say, it matters what you do. Parents, you can truly tell if your player wants it by the effort they also put in off the field. So it's not just what they put in on the field, and that's why this framework is so important. It's what they do off the field as well. Are they willing to commit to the following, the stuff that you already saw, found within the framework, and do it over years? That's the key word there. Years, not days, weeks, or months, years. Okay? So this is the content piece here. This is the Future Pro Player Framework. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Make sure you share this with somebody if you found value from it.